The wind rolled across the Montana plains like a restless spirit, carrying dust, memory, and the kind of loneliness that settled into a man's bones. Jacob Hale had buried his wife 3 winters ago on a hill overlooking the ranch, under a crooked oak tree that had survived lightning twice. Folks in town said that tree was stubborn. Jacob figured that's why he chose it. It reminded him of her. Since Mary died, Jacob had become quieter than the mountains and harder than the leather he worked with. He spoke when necessary, nodded when expected, and avoided town unless supplies forced him there. The ranch was the only thing that still answered him. The cattle listened. The horses understood silence. People asked questions. He wasn't always this way. There was a time when laughter filled the barn. When lantern light glowed warm through the kitchen window. When Sundays meant pie cooling on the sill and Mary humming hymns off-key. But grief is a strange thing. It doesn't shout forever. After a while, it whispers, and those whispers can hollow a man out. That was the state Jacob was in the afternoon he first saw her. He'd ridden into town for feed and fencing wire. The sky hung low, heavy with late summer heat. Most folks stayed inside. But near the general store, behind stacked barrels and broken crates, he noticed something small. Something trembling. At first, he thought it was a stray dog. Then he heard it. Not crying. Not loud. Just the sound of someone trying very hard not to cry. Jacob dismounted slowly. Behind the crate sat a girl, no more than 10 or 11. Thin arms. Torn dress. Dirt smudged across her cheek. One eye slightly swollen. She held her knees tight to her chest as if trying to disappear inside herself. He didn't ask questions right away. He crouched down, keeping his voice steady. "You hurt?" She flinched at the sound of his voice like it was a whip. That alone told him enough. He removed his hat. Not as a gentleman. As a signal. "I am not your enemy." After a long moment, she whispered, "I didn't mean to." Jacob's jaw tightened. Didn't mean to what? Burn the bread. The words hit him harder than a fist ever could. Burn the bread. That was her crime. He didn't ask who did it. He didn't need to. In small towns, you learn things without wanting to. Her mother had remarried last year. A man named Carl Dempsey. Drank too much. Gambled too much. Lost his job twice. Found blame easily. Jacob stood slowly. His eyes scanned the street. And there he was, stepping out of the saloon, already red-faced, already angry. Carl spotted the girl. Then he spotted Jacob. The look in Carl's eyes wasn't guilt. It was annoyance. As if the girl being seen was an inconvenience. "That ain't your business, Hale," Carl barked. Jacob stepped slightly in front of the girl. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just enough. "She hungry?" Jacob asked. Carl laughed. "She's stubborn." Jacob didn't blink. "That ain't what I asked." A few townsfolk had begun watching from doorways. No one liked Carl. But no one liked trouble either. Carl stepped forward. "Move aside." Jacob didn't. The air changed. Jacob wasn't the loudest man in town. But he was the strongest. Years of ranch work carved that strength into him. And grief had carved something colder behind his eyes. "You raise your voice again," Jacob said evenly, "and we'll settle it out past the creek." Carl hesitated. Because everyone in town knew one thing. Jacob Hale didn't threaten. He promised. Carl spat on the ground and muttered something under his breath before storming off toward his wagon. Pride mattered more to him than the girl. Jacob turned back. The girl was staring at him like he'd just moved a mountain. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lily." "Well, Lily," he said gently, "you coming with me?" Her eyes widened. I can't. You can. He extended his hand. It shook when she reached for it. That's when Jacob made a decision that would change everything. He lifted her onto his horse and rode out of town, not in anger, not in revenge, but with a quiet resolve that made even the wind seem to pause. The town would talk. Carl would rage. But Jacob didn't care. He had buried one family already. He wasn't about to let another child be buried alive while still breathing. When they reached the ranch, Lily stared at the wide open land like it was another world. No shouting. No slamming doors. Just fields stretching forever and the smell of hay and sun. He led her inside. The house still held Mary's touch, lace curtains, wooden floors polished by years of care. For the first time in 3 years, it didn't feel like a museum of loss. It felt needed. He placed a bowl of stew in front of her. She waited. For what? He asked. For you to say it's okay. Jacob swallowed. It's okay. She ate like someone who had learned to eat quickly. That night, he laid blankets on the couch and sat in the rocking chair long after she fell asleep. Every small noise made her stir. Every time the wind tapped the window, she flinched. Jacob stared at the empty space across from him where Mary used to sit. I don't know what I'm doing, he whispered into the dark. But for the first time since her death, the house didn't feel silent. It felt like it was holding its breath. And out on the plains, word was already spreading. The widowed cowboy had taken Dempsey's girl. And Carl Dempsey was not a man who accepted humiliation quietly. What happened next would shake the town harder than a thunderstorm rolling over dry earth. But Jacob Hale had already made his choice. He would rather fight the world again than watch another child learn to apologize for surviving.